Stay informed, stay ahead. Subscribe now to USA Fresh News.
Today in USA Fresh News, Good Morning America. It's Thursday, September 18th, 2025, and here are today's top stories shaping our nation this morning. The Federal Reserve cut interest rates for the first time in 2025, reducing rates by a quarter point amid a cooling labor market, with Jerome Powell signaling 2 additional cuts are coming this year. In a stunning entertainment industry shakeup, ABC has pulled Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely following the host's controversial comments about the Charlie Kirk assassination. Internationally, President Donald Trump continues his historic second state visit to the United Kingdom, meeting with King Charles III, while protesters project images onto Windsor Castle. The nation also mourns the loss of Hollywood legend Robert Redford, who died at age 89, leaving behind a legacy of iconic films and environmental activism. In legal developments, the 22-year-old accused of killing conservative political activist Charlie Kirk faces charges with potential death penalty, while an independent UN report concludes Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. Corporate news sees Ben & Jerry's co-founder Jerry Greenfield quitting the ice cream brand amid disputes with owner Unilever over silencing social justice advocacy. And keeping watch on weather patterns, Tropical Storm Gabrielle has formed in the Atlantic after an unusual 3-week quiet spell in hurricane season. These stories and more define America's conversation this morning as we navigate politics, justice, and global tensions in our ever-changing world.
So, let's see, or listen. The Federal Reserve's decision to cut interest rates by 0.25 percentage points marks a pivotal moment in America's economic landscape, representing the first reduction in borrowing costs since the central bank's aggressive tightening cycle began in early 2022. Chair Jerome Powell's announcement comes as inflation has cooled significantly from its peak of over 9%, now hovering near the Fed's 2% target, while unemployment has ticked upward to 4.2% from historic lows. This monetary policy shift signals growing confidence that the central bank can ease financial conditions without reigniting price pressures that devastated household budgets just 2 years ago. For ordinary Americans, this rate cut translates into tangible relief across multiple fronts. Mortgage rates, which had soared above 7% for 30-year fixed loans, are already showing signs of decline, potentially rekindling home-buying activity in markets where affordability had become a distant dream for middle-class families. Credit card holders carrying balances will see gradual reductions in their monthly interest charges, though the relief will be modest given the relatively small cut. Small business owners, who've struggled with elevated borrowing costs that crimped expansion plans and equipment purchases, now face a more favorable lending environment that could stimulate job creation and economic growth. Powell's forward guidance, suggesting 2 additional quarter-point cuts before year's end, reflects the Fed's delicate balancing act between supporting economic growth and maintaining price stability. The labor market, while still historically strong, has shown unmistakable signs of cooling, with job openings declining and hiring rates moderating. This gradual softening provides the Fed with room to maneuver without triggering the type of sharp economic downturn that characterized previous tightening cycles. The entertainment industry received a seismic shock as ABC made the unprecedented decision to pull Jimmy Kimmel Live off the air indefinitely following the host's controversial remarks about the Charlie Kirk assassination. The late-night comedian's comments, made during Tuesday's monologue, crossed what network executives deemed an unacceptable line regarding political violence. While specific details of Kimmel's statements remain under wraps, industry insiders suggest the remarks appeared to make light of or justify the killing of the prominent conservative activist, sparking immediate backlash from advertisers and affiliate stations across the country. This dramatic action underscores the heightened sensitivity surrounding political discourse in the wake of Kirk's murder, which has already prompted congressional discussions about increased security funding for public figures. ABC's swift response reflects corporate America's growing wariness about associating with content that could be perceived as encouraging or normalizing political violence, regardless of the target's ideological affiliation. The decision carries enormous financial implications, as Kimmel Live generates substantial advertising revenue and serves as a key component of ABC's late-night programming strategy. The broader implications for free speech and comedy in America cannot be understated. Late-night television has long served as a venue for sharp political satire, often pushing boundaries that might be considered inappropriate in other contexts. Kimmel's indefinite suspension raises questions about where networks will draw lines in an increasingly polarized political environment where any joke or comment can be weaponized by opposing sides. Comedians and industry professionals are watching closely to see whether this represents an isolated response to particularly egregious content or signals a new era of heightened censorship in entertainment. The Charlie Kirk assassination case continues to dominate headlines as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson faces 7 criminal charges, including aggravated murder and obstruction of justice. Prosecutors' decision to seek the death penalty reflects both the heinous nature of the crime and the broader political implications of assassinating a prominent conservative voice. Robinson's confession through text messages to his roommate provides prosecutors with compelling evidence, though defense attorneys are likely to explore mental health factors and potential radicalization that led to this shocking act of political violence. Kirk's murder represents a dangerous escalation in America's political tensions, coming at a time when threats against public figures have reached alarming levels. The conservative activist, known for his provocative commentary and large social media following, had received numerous death threats in recent years, highlighting the precarious position of polarizing political figures in today's climate. His assassination has prompted calls from both parties for enhanced security measures and a cooling of inflammatory rhetoric, though such appeals have historically proven ineffective in reducing political animosity. The case also raises uncomfortable questions about the role of social media and online echo chambers in radicalizing individuals toward violence. Robinson's digital footprint is being scrutinized for signs of extremist influence and the gradual progression from political disagreement to murderous intent. This examination could provide crucial insights into preventing future acts of political violence, though it also risks further polarizing debates about online content moderation and free speech protections. President Trump's historic second state visit to the United Kingdom continues generating both diplomatic opportunities and significant controversy. The rarity of a former president receiving multiple state visit honors underscores the complex relationship between the U.S. and UK, particularly given Trump's sometimes strained relations with European allies during his first term. King Charles III's invitation suggests a diplomatic reset focused on economic cooperation and shared security concerns, even as protests demonstrate the deep divisions Trump still generates internationally. The projection of Trump and Jeffrey Epstein images onto Windsor Castle represents a new form of digital-age protest that maximizes symbolic impact while highlighting ongoing controversies surrounding Trump's past associations. These demonstrations, while generating arrests and diplomatic awkwardness, reflect the determination of Trump's critics to ensure his controversial history remains visible even during ceremonial occasions. The incident underscores how modern technology enables protesters to penetrate even the most secure and prestigious venues with their messaging. Economic discussions between Trump and British officials carry significant implications for post-Brexit trade relations and America's broader Atlantic alliance. With the UK still navigating its post-European Union economic identity, closer ties with the United States remain crucial for British prosperity and international relevance. The entertainment world mourns the passing of Robert Redford at age 89, a towering figure whose influence extended far beyond his legendary screen performances into environmental activism and independent filmmaking. Redford's death at his Utah home marks the end of an era for American cinema, closing the chapter on an actor-director whose career spanned over 6 decades and helped define what it meant to be a leading man in Hollywood's golden age. His iconic roles in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and All the President's Men cemented his status as both a box office draw and a serious artist willing to tackle complex political themes. Beyond his acting prowess, Redford's directorial achievements, particularly Ordinary People, which earned him an Academy Award, demonstrated his commitment to intimate storytelling that explored family dysfunction and psychological trauma with unprecedented honesty. His founding of the Sundance Film Festival transformed the independent film landscape, providing a crucial platform for emerging filmmakers who couldn't access traditional Hollywood distribution channels. This legacy institution continues nurturing creative voices that might otherwise remain unheard, fundamentally altering American cinema's diversity and artistic range. Redford's environmental activism, often overshadowed by his entertainment career, represents perhaps his most enduring contribution to American society. His early move to Utah in 1961 and subsequent efforts to preserve Western landscapes helped establish him as a credible voice in conservation circles long before environmental awareness became mainstream. His advocacy for renewable energy, opposition to oil drilling in sensitive ecosystems, and support for indigenous land rights positioned him as a celebrity activist whose commitment extended far beyond symbolic gestures to substantive policy engagement. The corporate world faces disruption as Ben & Jerry's co-founder Jerry Greenfield dramatically quit the ice cream brand he helped build into a global phenomenon, citing parent company Unilever's systematic silencing of the company's social justice advocacy. This departure represents more than a business dispute. It symbolizes the ongoing tension between corporate profit maximization and values-driven entrepreneurship that has become increasingly prominent in American business culture. Greenfield's accusation that Unilever has muzzled Ben & Jerry's traditional activism highlights how multinational corporate ownership can fundamentally alter a brand's identity and mission. The ice cream company had built its reputation not just on premium products, but on taking bold stances on social issues, from criminal justice reform to climate change advocacy. This approach resonated with consumers who viewed their purchases as expressions of political values, creating a loyal customer base willing to pay premium prices for products aligned with their beliefs. Unilever's apparent retreat from controversial positions reflects the complex challenges multinational corporations face when operating across diverse political environments where progressive stances in American markets might generate backlash in more conservative international territories. Greenfield's departure raises fundamental questions about authentic corporate social responsibility versus marketing-driven activism. Many companies have embraced social causes as branding strategies, leading to accusations of woke-washing, where progressive messaging masks traditional profit-driven decision-making. The Ben & Jerry's situation provides a real-time case study in whether values-driven business models can survive within larger corporate structures that prioritize shareholder returns over social mission consistency. International tensions escalate dramatically as Israel responds forcefully to a United Nations Human Rights Council report accusing the country of committing genocide in Gaza. The 72-page document, prepared by an independent commission, represents one of the most serious international legal challenges Israel has faced since the October 7th attacks triggered the current conflict. The report's conclusion that Israel has committed 4 genocidal acts against Palestinians carries potential implications for international law enforcement and diplomatic relations. Though Israel's categorical rejection of the findings ensures continued legal and political battles. The humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues worsening as thousands of displaced Palestinians flee Gaza City amid Israel's escalated military operations. Israel's military projection that the current incursion will require several months to achieve its objectives suggests a prolonged conflict that will further destabilize the region and complicate international diplomatic efforts. The civilian toll, already devastating after nearly a year of warfare, threatens to reach even more catastrophic levels as military operations intensify in densely populated urban areas. American foreign policy finds itself increasingly strained by the Gaza conflict, with the Biden and now Trump administrations struggling to balance traditional support for Israeli security with growing domestic and international pressure regarding Palestinian casualties. Congressional debates over military aid to Israel have become more contentious, reflecting shifting American public opinion, particularly among younger voters who view the conflict through different moral frameworks than previous generations. This evolution in American perspectives on Middle East policy carries significant implications for future diplomatic initiatives and regional stability. Weather patterns across the United States continue defying seasonal expectations as Tropical Storm Gabrielle forms in the Atlantic Ocean, ending an unusual 3-week period of hurricane season quietude that had meteorologists puzzled. This renewed activity comes at a time when climate scientists are increasingly concerned about the intensification of storms due to warming ocean temperatures, which provide additional energy for tropical system development. Gabrielle's formation, while currently posing no immediate threat to the continental United States, serves as a reminder that hurricane season extends through November and can produce dangerous storms well into autumn. The agricultural sector faces mounting pressures as farmers across multiple regions report breaking point conditions due to a combination of tariffs, elevated input costs, and unpredictable weather patterns. These Farmageddon conditions, as some agricultural advocates have termed the crisis, threaten food security and rural economic stability in ways not seen since the farm crisis of the 1980s. The intersection of trade policy, climate change, and global supply chain disruptions has created a perfect storm challenging American agricultural competitiveness and farmer livelihoods. Congressional Republicans' request for $30 million in additional lawmaker security funding reflects the deteriorating security environment for elected officials following Charlie Kirk's assassination. This unprecedented funding request acknowledges that current protective measures are inadequate for the elevated threat levels facing public figures in America's increasingly polarized political climate. The funding would support enhanced personal security details, improved facility protection, and advanced threat assessment capabilities designed to prevent future political violence.
Sports. The National Football League enters Week 3 of the 2025 season with several compelling storylines dominating both sports pages and broader cultural conversations. The Kansas City Chiefs' pursuit of an unprecedented three-peat continues, as Patrick Mahomes leads the defending champions to a 2-0 start. But questions about competitive balance in the league have sparked discussions about salary cap effectiveness and player movement restrictions. The Chiefs' dominance, while entertaining for their fan base, represents a broader challenge for the NFL in maintaining the parity that has historically driven television viewership and betting engagement across all markets. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills' Josh Allen has emerged as the primary challenger to Mahomes' supremacy, leading Buffalo to impressive victories that have reinvigorated a franchise and city that has long sought championship validation. The Bills' success carries particular economic significance for Western New York, where increased tourism, merchandise sales, and local business revenue directly correlate with team performance. Sports economists estimate that a deep playoff run could inject over $50 million into the regional economy through increased hotel bookings, restaurant traffic, and retail activity. The Los Angeles Rams face unexpected challenges as injuries to key players have exposed depth issues that could derail their season before October arrives. This struggle highlights the precarious nature of NFL roster construction, where salary cap management and injury luck often determine championship aspirations more than pure talent evaluation. The Rams' difficulties also underscore the economic risks facing franchises that mortgage future assets for immediate success, a strategy that can leave organizations vulnerable when circumstances change. Major League Baseball's playoff race intensifies as September games carry heightened significance for teams fighting for postseason positioning. The Atlanta Braves continue their remarkable consistency under manager Brian Snitker, representing organizational stability in a sport increasingly dominated by analytics and player movement. The Braves' success story resonates beyond baseball, serving as a model for mid-market franchises seeking sustainable competitive advantages without the payroll flexibility enjoyed by coastal powerhouses. The Los Angeles Dodgers and New York Yankees maintain their traditional roles as financial heavyweights, but both face questions about return on investment given their substantial payroll commitments. The Dodgers' Mookie Betts continues delivering MVP-caliber performance, justifying his massive contract extension while demonstrating how elite talent can transform organizational culture and fan engagement. The Yankees' struggles with inconsistency, despite significant spending, highlight the challenges facing organizations trying to blend veteran leadership with emerging talent. The National Basketball Association's offseason continues, generating headlines as teams prepare for training camp openings next month. The Golden State Warriors' decision to rebuild around Stephen Curry while maintaining championship aspirations represents a fascinating case study in franchise management. Curry's enduring popularity and marketing appeal provide the Warriors with revenue stability, even as roster construction becomes increasingly complex around an aging superstar whose game remains elite but whose supporting cast faces uncertainty. The Boston Celtics championship celebration continues reverberating through New England, where the economic impact of their title run exceeded initial projections. Local businesses report sustained increases in Celtics merchandise sales, while restaurants and bars throughout the Boston metropolitan area have experienced elevated traffic as fans maintain their championship enthusiasm. This phenomenon illustrates how sports success can create lasting economic benefits extending well beyond the immediate playoff period. Tennis concludes its Grand Slam season with the U.S. Open delivering another thrilling conclusion at Flushing Meadows. Coco Gauff's continued development as America's tennis ambassador carries implications beyond pure athletic achievement, representing the sport's efforts to maintain relevance among younger demographics, increasingly drawn to faster-paced entertainment options. Gauff's marketability and social media presence help tennis compete for attention in an increasingly crowded sports landscape, where traditional tournaments must evolve their presentation to capture modern audiences. The upcoming 2026 World Cup preparations accelerate as FIFA and organizing committees across the United States, Mexico, and Canada finalize logistics for the expanded 48-team tournament. Economic projections suggest the tournament could generate over $5 billion in economic activity across host cities, with infrastructure improvements and tourism benefits extending far beyond the competition period. This massive undertaking represents the largest sporting event ever staged in North America, requiring unprecedented coordination between multiple nations and dozens of venues.
Weather. The United States faces a complex meteorological landscape this mid-September as Tropical Storm Gabrielle's formation in the Atlantic signals the resumption of hurricane activity after an unprecedented 3-week lull that had forecasters puzzled about seasonal patterns. Current atmospheric conditions show Gabrielle tracking northward through cooler waters, likely limiting its intensification potential. But meteorologists emphasize that Atlantic basin activity typically peaks in mid to late September, meaning additional tropical development remains highly probable through November. This renewed activity comes as ocean temperatures across the Atlantic remain well above historical averages, providing the thermal energy that fuels tropical cyclone development and intensification. The economic implications of resumed hurricane activity extend far beyond immediate storm damage assessments. Insurance markets, already strained by consecutive years of billion-dollar weather disasters, are closely monitoring tropical development patterns that could trigger massive claims across southeastern coastal regions. Property insurance rates in Florida, Louisiana, and Texas have increased substantially over the past 3 years, with some insurers withdrawing from high-risk markets entirely. Hurricane Gabrielle's formation, while currently posing no immediate mainland threat, serves as a stark reminder that hurricane season extends well into autumn, potentially disrupting agricultural harvests, energy production, and tourism revenue during critical economic periods. Across the continental interior, an expansive high-pressure system stretching from the Great Plains to the Mid-Atlantic continues delivering unseasonably warm temperatures that are setting daily records from Kansas to Virginia. Cities like Topeka, Kansas, and Richmond, Virginia, have recorded temperatures 15 degrees above normal for mid-September, creating agricultural stress conditions for late-season crops and increasing energy consumption as air conditioning systems work overtime to combat the persistent heat. This atmospheric pattern, meteorologists note, resembles the notorious heat dome configurations that have become increasingly common as global climate patterns shift toward more extreme temperature anomalies. The agricultural sector faces mounting challenges as the prolonged heat wave coincides with below-normal precipitation across major farming regions. Corn and soybean farmers in Iowa, Illinois, and Indiana report that crops are experiencing significant stress during critical maturation periods, potentially reducing yields and impacting global commodity markets where American agricultural exports play dominant roles. Livestock operations across the Midwest are implementing costly cooling measures to prevent heat-related animal losses, adding operational expenses that ultimately influence meat prices for consumers nationwide. The National Weather Service's extended forecasts suggest this pattern could persist through the month's end, raising concerns about harvest timing and quality. Western states continue grappling with persistent drought conditions that have become the new normal across much of California, Nevada, and Arizona. Lake Mead and Lake Powell remain at critically low levels despite modest improvements from spring snowmelt, while California's water allocation systems face another year of restrictions that impact both agricultural production and urban water supplies. The Colorado River Basin's ongoing crisis affects over 40 million Americans who depend on this water source, creating interstate tensions over allocation rights and usage priorities between agricultural, municipal, and recreational interests. Fire danger remains elevated across the Pacific Northwest and Northern California, where dry conditions and occasional wind events create the perfect conditions for rapid wildfire spread. The economic toll of wildfire preparation and suppression has reached billions of dollars annually, with communities investing heavily in defensible space programs and evacuation planning systems. Insurance companies increasingly require extensive fire mitigation measures before providing coverage in high-risk areas, creating additional financial burdens for property owners in wildfire-prone regions. The Great Lakes region experiences unusually stable weather patterns this September, with lake effect systems remaining dormant due to warmer-than-normal water temperatures. This stability benefits agricultural operations across Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota, where farmers are capitalizing on extended growing seasons to maximize crop yields before autumn frost arrives. However, climatologists warn that warmer lake temperatures could intensify winter weather patterns when cold air masses eventually arrive, potentially creating more severe lake-effect snow events during the coming winter months. Energy markets reflect weather pattern impacts as electricity demand surges across heat-affected regions, while natural gas futures fluctuate based on long-term temperature forecasts. The interconnection between weather patterns and energy costs demonstrates how atmospheric conditions directly influence household budgets and business operations across all economic sectors, making accurate weather forecasting increasingly critical for economic planning and risk management in America's climate-sensitive economy.